Manx Radio's Countryside is brought to you by NFU Mutual.
Hello and welcome to this week's Countryside here on Manx Radio. I'm Simon Clark.
And I'm Kirree Kermode.
This week we have a special programme about the mental health in the world of agriculture. We speak to two people who have been heavily affected by such matters in the past, and we listen to the advice they've got for the future. Well, Kirree, a bit of a one-off programme for us today, focusing on mental health issues, particularly in the farming and agricultural world, but advice for everyone, I'd say, because the tough times that we've had this last year, we always say we're fairly lucky here on the Isle of Man that we can be able to do what we've been able to do, isn't it?
That's right, avoiding another lockdown at the moment, but being resilient and careful out there in the general public. The great Manx public are very strong and they do listen to the rules, and hopefully we'll be able to clear off again. But it's been a tricky year. Lockdowns brought all sorts of problems with itself, and mental health is definitely one of those too. It
is, and particularly poignant time, I think, when you look back to 2001, 20 years ago now.
Absolutely.
People are scratching their head thinking, what happened?
That's right, the big disaster of the foot and mouth disease that struck Britain, and my golly did it take some animals with it. Nearly 500,000 sheep and thousands of cattle. Lots of animals taken, but also the heartache that the people still feel 20 years on, reading some of the stories there on Facebook, social medias at the moment, reminiscent of those days that they don't particularly want to remember, but just hits home how lucky we are here on the Isle of Man that we never actually got foot and mouth.
So a little bit later in the programme, Kirree, we'll be catching up with the two young farmers.
Yeah, that'll be Dan Goodwin and Matt Launder from North Wales.
And first of all, though, you caught up with a lady who is in charge of a particular charity, is it, or group?
That's right, I caught up with Stephanie Berkeley, who actually was on the Isle of Man a couple of years ago alongside the NFU talking about farm safety. And in those years now, they've recognised that some of the farm accidents are actually coming from overtiredness and being maybe ill of the mental health. And I caught up with Stephanie during her fourth campaign of Mind Your Head, which ran this past week, the 15th and 19th of February. And I asked her what it was all about.
The Mind Your Head campaign is something we created about 4 years ago, just to raise awareness of mental health in the farming and agricultural related trades industries. So the issues that farmers are actually facing, and something that not an awful lot of them still want to talk about. The thing is that farmers have so many different stresses. They're very busy people. They are conservative. They just get on with things. They look after their land, their livestock, their machinery. They're just not very good at looking after themselves.
That is very, very true. They're very resilient people, aren't they? They're very tough, and maybe showing their own weaknesses might be seen as a letdown, really.
Yeah, I think it, and do you know what? It's actually a self-imposed stigma.
Absolutely.
There are so many people talking about mental health now, and it's great to hear the conversations. But actually, farmers just go, well, do you know what? We are tough. We work all day long. We work on our own. We're at the mercy of the elements. We're at the mercy of trade agreements, all of those kind of things that are out of our control. They just don't think that actually working on a farm, if you are stressed or experiencing mental health problems, could be dangerous, and actually it could have deadly consequences if they're not in the right headspace.
And I think this is what you were seeing 4 years ago, or when you started the Farm Safety Foundation, known as Yellow Wellies. It was sort of triggered with the idea of these farm accidents becoming more and more.
Yeah, we were set up actually to preserve and protect the physical and mental well-being. And obviously in the first couple of years, we concentrated on just getting the farm safety discussion going, because not many people were talking about it and going, well, do you know what? I've always done it that way. I'm not going to change it. But actually what we found was people that were having those life-changing accidents were experiencing serious mental health issues as a result of it. But also others that have the accident said that they were having them because actually they were in quite a dark place and they were distracted. They were tired because they weren't sleeping. And, their reaction times were, a lot more. So they were having the accidents as a result of it. And then they were having the mental health issues as a result of the accident. So it was almost like cyclical.
Goodness me. No, it is scary to think, isn't it? It really is, of how much pressure is on these young people. But I believe now that there is a lot more people wanting to talk about mental health. They believe that a problem shared is a problem halved. Is that the way forward that you guys are thinking?
Oh, definitely. 4 years ago when we started the campaign, we could not get anybody to talk and share their story with us. Wow. The only person we had was actually Nigel Owens, the rugby referee, who had come from a farming background and was involved in the Young Farmers Clubs in Wales. But actually now we have some absolutely lovely people who have approached us and said, if I can help one person, then by sharing my story, then I'll do that. And that is so important, because it's about actually identifying in somebody else what you might be experiencing yourself, or you might recognize in somebody that you care about, and then starting that conversation with them and hopefully guiding them to the support that they need.
And do you think there is some buzzwords or keywords just for general people to get other people talking? You know, they may never have suffered from mental health themselves, so they might not know what to ask somebody or to look out for these signs. How would you recommend to somebody just off the street how to get talking?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the first signs of anybody that's struggling can be difficult to recognise, as a lot of people's signs are very personal to themselves. You know, in farming, obviously, that there's the stigma and everything that is improving, but you sometimes hide your symptoms because you're worried about what others might say or think about you. Physical signs like general appearance, looking tired, weight loss, weight gain, you know, they're easier to spot in somebody. But those emotional and behavioural signs, you know, uncharacteristic outbursts, aggression, negative talk, somebody talking down about themselves all the time, you know, but also in the workplace, you know, it can be changes in online conversations, missing deadlines, you know, poor paperwork, all of those kind of things that can alert you to say to somebody, do you know what, are you okay?
Yeah.
But and you do, and we ask that question all the time, but do we ever wait for an answer?
Well,
so we can say, are you okay? And then sort of presume they've said yes. But actually, if they haven't said yes, ask it again, you know, and wait for an answer, because actually they might not be willing to fully open at that stage, but you might start a conversation, and actually you might be the relief that somebody's actually recognised the despair that they're in at that time and might want to reach out.
Yeah, absolutely. So how does the campaigns work with Mind Your Head and the Yellow Wellies? How does that help with these young people?
Well, I think what we're trying to do is normalise, conversations. We're wanting to get people to understand the wealth of help that's out there. You know, Manx, Samaritans are fantastic. They're there to listen to people. If you want to talk to somebody face to face, there are farming charities out there. There's online support, which is really important as well. You know, and that the RABI have just released an online mental wellbeing platform that you can dip in and out of. You can journal your feelings. You can ask for help. You can get one-to-one free counselling on it, you know, so there's something for everybody. So it doesn't matter whether you don't want to speak to somebody face to face. You don't have to, you know, but you can get that help. And that's what the campaign's about. It's about bringing all these organisations together, telling people in the industry that we do care, that we are looking out for each other, and the help is there. They have to take the first step to get it.
You know, these people that are, you know, being affected, I suppose you'd say. Where do they go to? Is the Samaritans was the only one that came to my head straight off, because luckily I've been able to have a good family network around me, and when things are low you turn to your family, but many people don't have that. And I thought, where do we go? Where do we reach out to? And obviously now with the Yellow Wellies and
there are some fantastic ones that are specifically for the farming industry, you know, which means that the person they're speaking to knows what they're going through, you know, and that's really important. And you know, and I think if they want to talk and don't want any advice and guidance, then speak to Samaritans, because they're just there to listen, you know, and they're brilliant. But if they want that guidance, if it's about financial issues, they can get that through those farming charities. So if it's about a financial issue that they have that's causing them distress, they can help things like debt restructuring and stuff. It's amazing.
People at the minute in lockdown will be really struggling with no marts, no shows. These are places where they can go and mix with other people. Is this pandemic really starting to show effects? Is there lots of other things that we can do this year or going forward to help our mental well-being?
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. With the show season cancelled, and that is actually sometimes the farmers' only holiday. Those 3 days at a show, an agricultural show, is the way for them to socialise, meet like-minded people. The NFU branch meetings and things like that have been stopped. The young farmers clubs haven't met face to face for about 10 months. So it's actually easy to understand how those circles of community that are there in farming have actually been closed off. And farmers who are actually already dealing with the issue of rural isolation and being on their own all day can actually feel that they've no way to feel connected and be connected. So it's about encouraging them to stay connected, reaching out to somebody, sending a text, making a phone call, trying to make sure that somebody that you haven't heard from in a while knows that there's somebody thinking about them.
Absolutely. So yeah, people now, Stephanie, they can go onto the websites, onto Facebook, and they can find easy links to these campaigns or pages where they can get help.
Yes, I mean, today the theme of the actual campaign is all about supporting others. So we've talked about various issues in the industry, and we've talked about ways people are dealing with it and using physical exercise and, even having to leave the job that they love. But we want to let people know that it's about supporting others and how to get that support. It's about educating yourself about those signs and symptoms, starting the conversation and guiding them to whether it's RABI, FC, Farming Community Network, or, any of the fantastic support organisations that there are out there. You can follow us on Yellow Wellies UK on Instagram, Facebook and Twitter. Our website is yellowwellies.org, and there's a lot of information in there. And there's a little book called The Little Book of Minding Your Head, which kind of brings it all together. And it's a very easy read. It's written with somebody that doesn't have an awful lot of time on their hands, can read and digest and go back to for reference if they ever need it.
Kirree was talking there to Stephanie Berkeley from the Farm Safety Foundation, also known as the Yellow Wellies. You're listening to Countryside here on Manx Radio with Kirree Kermode and myself, Simon Clark.
Continuing to talk about farming's mental health epidemic, I catch up with two young farmers off island who have been struggling with their mental health, but have come forward to talk about their story to try and help others within agriculture. And I started off talking to Dan Goodwin, who is from the south of England, and Matt Launder from North Wales.
So I started farming and started on the agricultural college. And over 4 years, the problems were getting worse and worse. So I was getting more isolated, there was more pressure, there was more stress, and the anxiety started kicking in. And then in 2019, it come to the day that I had to make the most hard decision of my life, was to stop the career and the dream I've had for all my life and actually put myself first. Because over them 4 years of having a lot of mental health issues, I was going through a lot of different thoughts, and a lot of them were suicidal thoughts. And I had to make that hard decision to take a step back.
And what do you think triggered that in farming? Obviously, isolation you mentioned there. Was there nowhere you can reach out to people within the industry or within your area of work? Was it not available to you?
So when it wasn't available to me, it wasn't made aware to me. That's the main thing I'm trying to get across. When I was in my agricultural colleges, hardly anything was talked about. And I am going back 4 years, so the world was a lot different then. Nothing was talking about mental health. Nothing was mentioned about Yellow Wellies and any other mental health charities within farming. So I had no idea where to go to, and I'm a person that keeps myself to myself and don't really talk about my feelings to anyone. So I had nowhere to go to, and it was really difficult because if I had somewhere to go to, I might have been in a much different place than I am now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Help is readily available now, but like you say, 4 years ago, it wasn't talked about, the stigma around mental health, and it is real hard days, lambing time, long hours. You were working 7 in the morning till midnight, 7 days a week. That is normal for farming families and people that work in agriculture. That is quite common, isn't it, Dan?
100%. And it's where I am in Suffolk, we're all cereal based. So when the weather's right, they'll just go. And it can be non-stop for only 2 months. And it is really difficult. And it's something that needs to be looked in more for the safety of farmers and then for helping with mental health. Lorry drivers have to have a break for over a certain amount of time when they work. So why can't farmers? Why cannot there not be a massive break? You have to be due to tiredness. And that's also another thing that's a big killer as well in farming. Where I am based in Suffolk, I have a number of agriculture colleges nearby, and before COVID and lockdown come in, I was going to them colleges and doing massive talk about Yellow Wellies with your mind ahead and the farm safety sector as well, and my story, to try and to make awareness of the younger generation within the farming industry, to make them more aware about where they can go and what they can do and what they can do differently to try and keep themselves on board. And that's what we've got to try and do. Farming industry is a massive age range between the ages of 16 to 80 and more. So we have to try and find different ways of trying to get the word out to everyone in all the different age ranges.
No, that is really, really great work, Dan. And if I can bring Matt in now. Matt, you're from Welshpool in North Wales.
Hi, DDK. I'm a first-generation farmer. I just have probably been doing it that long, it feels like. I've made everyone in the family farmers now.
That is fantastic. And Matt, if you can tell us a little bit about your story. Obviously, it's not just workload, it's other factors that affect mental health as well.
Definitely, yeah. So as I say, I'm a first-generation farmer. I'm originally from Gloucestershire, and started keeping stock when I was about 13. I think by the time I did my GCSEs, about 150 odd ewes, and just you keep building up like that slowly but surely with whatever money you could save, and then moved up to Llanelfel in just up from Welshpool, which is mid Wales, like mid North Wales, and took on a farm really at the age of 18, 19.
Wow. It's a great achievement.
Well, yeah, it is. You sign your life away to HSBC, but
and you've touched on that there, Matt. The money, the financial pressures and strains. Do you think this does have an effect on a young person? The expectations and the fear of failing.
Oh, definitely. 100%. That's 95% of probably what my problem is, but also it's what drives me forward every day. It's finance is a massive factor in agriculture. We're producing a product which we're having to make cheaper and cheaper every year. So it's scary. Prices for stuff and our banking fees and everything like that seem to be going up. And that is the way of the world. But it's a massive pressure. It's a stress on people's shoulders. And sometimes there are days you think, well, how can I grow my business? How can I either find a way through because of the financial burdens?
And going back to what before I interrupted you there, Matt, you obviously went to HSBC and invested heavily in the new farm.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. God, yeah. As I say, I've got to sign my soul away. But for the dream that I wanted. So, steady investment over about 5 or 6 years, and then the big one came in 2018. I invested about £90,000.
Wow.
We built the system that we thought, the sheep system, through an upland farm, so we invested that money in the autumn, bought about 630 odd ewes, and then it was all going well. You think you're an absolute hero when you got 5 or 6 Arctic lorries turning up with your sheep on, and it's all well and good, but you need to turn a profit on them. So we tucked them all. Scanning was okay, then basically PCEs came. We'd started lambing the ewes. We had 400 ewes in the shed and about 630 or 670 odd ewes up on hill country, and it was there's a starter there lambing at the end of getting towards the end of the ewes, lambing in the shed. We couldn't turn anything out, and then the PCEs hit, and in about 24 hours I lost 60% of my lamb crop.
Oh my God.
So I lost nearly 600 odd lambs pretty well overnight.
Oh, Matt, I couldn't imagine what you felt like, because obviously, like I just said before, I'm from a farming family. We experienced the beast from the east as well, and we were lambing at the same time, and we had losses, but nothing as significant as that. That is just one massive blow for anybody in agriculture. That would just put you to your knees.
100%, yeah. I didn't sleep. I didn't eat. I don't know what it is with farmers. The first thing to do is when times are hard, we always go, right, we must work harder. And that's what I did. That was my mindset. So take a shovel, take what you got to do, and just keep, every time you go up, you try and save what you can save. But I think the devastation, I think the crows didn't help, and as I say, but yeah, just kept going and believe that one day it'll pass. And I think the small things were like, it was that cold in the lambing shed, and everyone in the industry experienced this. I'm not, that's the one thing you get wrapped up when you're in these positions and think, well, I'm the only one in this position, but you're not. The whole industry was getting knocked and battered. But one of the things which, really hit home for me was I'd sleep. We had a bit of a lambing office in the lambing shed, and I'd sleep in there, and because I'd have to change the milk pipes and all the orphan lambs because we lost ewes in the snow. So the milk pipes, we had 4 sets, and every hour you'd go and change them because they get freezing or something.
Oh my!
And so,
God,
but then you go out in the shed and you just see this. This is a pen basically of devastation of stuff of ewes you brought down that day, and they're looking war torn and trodden. But sadly that's why it's called the Beast of the East.
Yeah, absolutely. And we spoke about that at home before we come into the studios this morning. Those effects, people still talk of them and how they have affected people mentally. And that's what we touched on now with you, Matt, that dark place that you got into there. How did you get out of that?
So it, like, once when all the snow had gone, and it came for about a week, ruined everyone's life, and then went. And then we had this beautiful, dry, droughty summer, which didn't make things much better. No. But I was in such a shock, I was completely, I was ashamed basically of myself. I was ashamed of the number of animals that we'd lost. You go into this what if mentality of what if I'd done this, what if I'd done that. That time I stopped for a sandwich, should I have been out doing this? And you pick on and you relive the moments over and over again. And what did it for me was I hated farming. And I'm from an urban background in the beginning. I'm very lucky to be in the position I am now. But I mean, in the sense of all I ever wanted to do is be a farmer. I had the biggest toy farms that you get. I had combines, I had everything. I had a right mixed, I had a right mixed farm before mixed farming became a thing. And so, to then fall out of love with it and hate it.
Yep.
It rotted me to the core, and I just got more and more miserable, and I just wasn't really fussed on doing it, and as I'm a bubbly person, I love to make a joke, and in a time of crisis, I'm the first one to make someone laugh. I'm quite proud of the fact that I'm the one people come to when they're having a bad time or they need help, and I enjoy that, but I just wasn't in the mood. And so basically I was spiraling down and just getting more and more grumpy really, and hated the farm, and thought, I'm just going to sell up and go and do something else. But then I just kind of went, I can't be bothered with this anymore. I can't be bothered to be fed up. I'm bored of being annoyed. I'm bored of being wound up. Well, let's just do something about it. So with whatever money my fiance and I could scrape together after that, obviously, we found someone to look after what was left of the stock. And we went to New Zealand for a month.
Yep. And
it took me a couple of days, but I went on a lambing beat in New Zealand on a farm down in South Island, and just begin to rebuild the bricks and begin to fall in love with it again. And then I came back with a different mentality and different mindset and thought, right, okay, now let's rebuild.
Yeah, absolutely. And since then, Matt, you actually have rebuilt to the point where you now actually have done other enterprises solely other than farming. Yeah.
So I've got 4 businesses now, because I'll be paying the Beast of the East back now for the next 20 years.
Yeah.
So I'll be paying for stock that I don't own for the next 20 years now. So through necessity, I always like to liken it to, if there's a fire under your arse, you're going to find buckets of water. So my parents have been through some hard times, but they're incredibly strong people, and they've always said, look, if in doubt, do something.
Yeah.
So if a time of crisis, my dad always used to say, like, if in doubt, make a cup of tea, do anything, call your mum, just do something. So that's what I try and change that mindset now, and just say, right, okay, well, let's do something. Let's change one thing. If we can change one thing, then we can change the way the day's going to go. Like I'm aware of, I will always have this chemical imbalance in my brain. It's part of me. I wear it as a coat of armor. My story is not a story of tragedy and devastation, because farmers go through it every single day. It's a story of resilience, I'd say, and a story of that. It doesn't matter how dark and lonely you feel, you can always come back from it. You can just do one thing, and that will change everything. In
farming, the fear of failing is quite something. So how did you guys expect them to react when you came out with it? Was the reaction the way that you thought it was going to be?
I'm very big on social media. When I made that post and said I need help and this wasn't happening, my jaw hit the ground. I was gobsmacked with the response I had, and then the comments from friends and family were shockingly, surprisingly, that they actually were quite upset and shocked that they didn't see it themselves. And I was gobsmacked with the response, and I was quite humbled by what my friends and family was actually commented and actually said to me.
Yeah, I think, if I'm honest, my friends and the local farmers and my family and things, they just kind of put this big arm around me and went, good on you for coming out and saying it. Good on you for making a point of it. But, we're here for you. It's no worries. We're here for you, whatever you need, really. That whole comment you said about the fear of failure and things, and what because in farming we're obviously so out in the open, so you kind of everyone's so exposed, everyone's looking at what you're doing, and that was a big driver for me. And I kind of went to a dear friend of mine, Richard Tudor, and he kind of went, look, just regard the opinions of the people that you like and forget the rest. Yeah. And that helped me a lot. Just say one thing to one person, and then you could turn out that actually it's the next step to the rest of your life, and just don't be ashamed of it. I think that once we change this mindset of, well, when times are hard, we must work harder, and just embrace it. It's part of us.
That was two very brave young farmers talking about their mental health. Dan Goodwin there from the south of England, and Matt Launder from North Wales.
And some good words of advice there, because the highs and lows, and a lot of families on the island will know the heartache that's caused by mental health, won't they? And particular high rates over here as well in different professions, but the farming in the past and agriculture has been hit fairly hard.
It really has. Farmers are tough, resilient people, and they think, oh, it won't affect me. But it is okay to have a wobble, or, to reach out for help. Maybe once upon a time it seemed to be a failure, or, you can't talk about weaknesses like that in the farming industry. But these are everyday things, and people do get tired. And with this year of COVID and the lockdown, there's a lot of pressures, whether it's financially or just missing people, isolation. There's lots of great charities there that Stephanie and the two young farmers mentioned, to reach out and just to text every now and again, see how the neighbour's doing, or even if you don't get a reply, just check in on someone.
Indeed. And on the brighter side too, if you ever see farmers talking to the sheepdogs or the cows, you'll know they're just trying to vent their frustration or something on them and get it out of their system.
Absolutely.
Which is, good for everyone, I think.
It really is. Well, they always say that animal therapy is a thing, and that's not to be overridden.
Indeed. All right. Well, I hope you've enjoyed our insight into the mental health in the agricultural world, and thanks to our guests and our producer Sarah Hendy for sorting all that out for us. Next week, hopefully, we'll have some bits and pieces to do with the Young Farmers Concert, and also what's happening in the Young Farmers world, and maybe a bit of horse ploughing as well. So until next Tuesday at 6 o'clock, from me, Simon Clark.
I'm me, Kirree Kermode.
We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.